So there was a research study done in 2015 that showed dramatic improvements in balance and coordination through engaging in a rigorous set of balance training exercises. Those exercises were broken down into 4 components. Those components were sensory training, motor training, agility, and stability. What we're gonna do in this 4-part Brain Balance Boost series, I'm gonna take you through exercises in each of these components. And if you wanna check out the research that all this is built off of, and the research is phenomenal, by the way, I'm gonna put a link in the description of each of these videos. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, guys, so part 1 of our Brain Balance Boost series, we're gonna focus on the sensory mechanisms, primarily vision and our sense of touch. Both of these things are highly involved in balance. As you can imagine, what we see impacts directly our spatial awareness and also how we adjust and maneuver through space as we're engaging in everyday life. Our sense of touch is very important because it's always turned on through our feet as we're standing, through our hands as we're picking things up. Unfortunately, vision, our sense of touch, these things decrease in functionality over time. So training the senses specifically is very important. I'm using the glimpse bar here. We're gonna do 3 exercises that are progressive in nature. We're gonna do a beginner, intermediate, and advanced variation. I'm gonna hold the glimpse bar on these white lines, then I'm gonna bring the bar straight out in front of my body. That window is facing me so I can see those wonderful ball bearings shifting around. And the first drill here in this sensory stimulus training is going to be to simply try to visually keep those 3 white ball bearings somewhere in between my hands within that window of view. Now the weight is likely always going to be shifting. Don't get frustrated if it does. You're trying to keep the weight somewhere within view, not perfectly still and in the center. All right? But just that simple little visual stimulus of tracking those ball bearings and making adjustments syncs up the ocular motor reflex with the rest of the brain. You start to coordinate movement with it, and you begin to understand how these things can help build better balance. Let's progress to step number 2, or level 2 here. We're gonna do the same drill. That bar is gonna come out front. I'm just gonna try to keep it stable while really focusing on those white ball bearings. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shift to a single leg balance, and I'm gonna make circles going clockwise. Ooh, pretty challenging little drill here. And then once desired repetitions are reached, we're gonna go counterclockwise. All while trying to maintain the stability and the equilibrium of those white ball bearings. And when we start to combine movement, there's postural changes taking place, and we really have to sync up that movement more effectively. Level 3, all we're gonna do here is provide a vestibular stimulus. So whether or not you wanna go back to that single leg balance circle, just a single leg balance by itself, what you're gonna do now is that same thing, but this time as you're coordinating the movement, your head is gonna be turning like you're gesturing no. Okay? You can also start to turn the head as you're making those circles, which gets very involved, and you almost want to start making circles with your head. So disassociating those body parts is very important. So those are your 3 variations. First, bars out front, keeping those white ball bearings stable as our eyes are tracking. Level 2, we had the circles. In level 3, we had the circles or no circles with the vestibular system stimulus. So give those sensory movements a try, and be sure you stay tuned for part 2, which is where we're gonna visit some motor training components. All right, you guys, part 2 of our Brain Balance Boost series is gonna focus on the motor component of balance training. A lot of times balance is trained in a static manner, right? We're either standing on an unstable surface, or maybe balancing on one leg, or maybe we're even offsetting our stance, creating less stability. But the reality is that we need to be able to move in life, right? So the motor training component is gonna focus primarily on balance, of course, while moving. So we have 3 exercises, a beginner, intermediate, and advanced, to train balance while moving. So the first variation here we're gonna do is a tightrope walk. All we're gonna do is we're gonna bring our bar out front so we can track those white ball bearings and keep them level. I'm gonna bring my heel to toe one foot in front of the other like I'm walking on a tightrope. And if you'd like, you can always actually mark down a line with some masking tape or whatnot, agility ladder, and go from there. Now, as we progress, we're gonna stick with that tightrope walk exercise, but all we're gonna do is we're gonna go backwards. So we're gonna switch it up. Whole different challenge here as we're getting into the same kind of postural position with the arms extended out front. I'm gonna try to follow a straight line backwards as I connect heel to toe, maintaining that postural equilibrium, staying stable and strong on my feet and being extremely mindful of my movement and my body's position. So level 3, after we've gotten comfortable with building some of these walking patterns or patterns that are similar to walking, so it's gonna be a forward walking lunge as we are, again, tracking those ball bearings inside the ActivMotion glimpse bar. Now, of course, the depth of the lunge, the speed, the intensity is all gonna be adjusted based on your ability, or if you're programming this for a client, if you're a personal trainer, their own unique physical ability. So what I'm gonna do here is just demonstrate how I would do this exercise. Arms are extended out front. I'm gonna take a big step forward for my first lunge, come back up, and I'm gonna progress straight into the next variation. So I would step straight forward. Unfortunately, right here, I would go out of the frame of view, okay? But you get the idea. Forward walking lunge, extending those arms, keeping it maintained out front. That's a great level 3 variation of a motor component balance training exercise. So we had 3 different exercises: tightrope walk forward, tightrope walk backwards, and a simple walking lunge. All great exercises to train the motor component of your balance. Part 3 of our Brain Balance Boost series, we are going to focus on agility. Basically, what agility is in a balance training context is our ability to stay strong and stable on our feet while doing things like turning, twisting, bending, and reacting to our external environment. So in the motor component, we focused on just a basic gait pattern, right? Training our body to stay stable and balanced while walking forward. Here, we're gonna train our body to stay stable and balanced while walking and turning and weaving. And how we're gonna do that is we're gonna use these cones right here, or I have styrofoam blocks, but you can use a paper plate or put 2 balls on the floor or whatever. Just make sure they're about 5 feet apart. And we're gonna be doing some figure 8 patterns through here with different challenges. The first variation is gonna be a simple walking figure 8 pattern without any other tools. So basically it means instructing your client or you yourself walking through these cones or these objects here in a figure 8 fashion while staying nice and tight into your turns. All right, so we really wanna focus on those quicker, more athletic shifts in body mass as we're weaving through these markers. Now, if you want to increase the challenge there, you can boost the speed a little bit, so have the walk go faster, or you can bring these cones or whatever object you're using closer together to increase the tightness of those turns and twists. Now, how we can progress this is we're going to just put an ActivMotion glimpse bar in your hands. So I'm going to grab my ActivMotion glimpse bar here. Now, what's really important for this next variation is to have the window turned away from you. So I cannot see the ball bearing shifting yet. All right, so if you have a standard ActivMotion bar, that would be great to use here too. I can't see the ball bearings, but what this is gonna do is it's gonna give me resistance in my hands that's moving. So now I'm always having to react here, engage my stability system more, become more conscious and aware of my body as I have the bar into my chest, and I'm gonna do that same walking pattern here. I can feel that weight shifting inside the bar, pulling me from left to right, and I'm really having to react and adjust accordingly. If I want to progress this a little bit, I can just extend my arms out front. That weight is now further away from my body. It's going to shift more. Notice how I'm never able to keep it perfectly stable. The weight is always going to move inside the bar, and that's okay. We want it to move here to throw you off your center. So that's variation number 2. Variation number 3 is where we're going to introduce the visual component. So now I'm going to have to move slower. I'm going to turn the glimpse window facing me. I can see those ball bearings shifting inside the bar. I'm going to try to keep those 3 white ball bearings in the center somewhere. And now I'm going to maneuver through these cones And this gets extremely challenging, extremely balance focused. So multitasking, big time, right? That's why it's a level 3 exercise. We combine all these things to get the body and the brain ignited. So those are your 3 agility drills. Just make sure you have the cones here and you'll be all set. All right, you guys, part 4 of our Brain Boost Balance series is focusing on stability. So this is where you're going to probably recognize more of these exercises from a traditional balance training context, because we're going to use tools that you stand on to challenge your stability. What I have here is an AirX pad and a strongboard balance trainer. Obviously, you can use Bosu balls or whatever else you have available, other balance platforms, but these are going to be my tools of choice here, along with a glimpse bar. So just a quick review first, how we can challenge balance from a stability standpoint while maintaining our position on the floor, right? We're in one of our most stable positions here when we're either bilateral or in a nice athletic braced stable stance where our feet are staggered, one is offset behind the other. Super stable in these positions. We can challenge balance by moving to a tandem stance where one foot is directly in front of the other. Now I'm much less stable, right? I can also move to a single leg balance, right? That is a much less stable position as well. So those are ways you can challenge balance without using any tools. The first variation that we're gonna do here though is with an AirX pad. Now this is a thick foam pad that's filled with a little bit of air, rendering it just slightly unstable. So a great place to start if you wanna put a client or put yourself in an unstable standing position with a tool, I would recommend starting with the AirX pad here. So all we're gonna do here is I'm gonna put the glimpse bar in my hands just for another visual stimulus too, just turning on that sensory system. I'm gonna bring the hands out front and we can start right here, just for time, either 20 seconds, that's about where I would start, is holding and maintaining this position. Single leg balance, always an option there as well. Now as we progress, we're gonna move to a strong board. This has a spring in the middle. So really there's a fulcrum right in the center of the board here, 4 heavy-duty springs, so you can see 360 degrees of pretty dynamic movement as I get up on this platform. And what I'm gonna do here is do the same thing. I'm gonna extend my arms, and right here, the glimpse bar really acts like a nice level, so I can tell when I'm equal and when I'm not. This strong board is great though for engaging all those muscles in the ankles, knees, and hips and keeping level. 20 to 30 seconds, you'll be sweating after that one, I promise you. All right, and the third variation here, what we're gonna show you is actually another perturbation. We're gonna purposely shift the weight inside the bar as we are balancing. So if I got up onto this AirX platform now, remember I can go bilateral stance, I can go tandem stance, I can go single leg. Now I'm gonna take this bar, I'm not gonna really use the visual aspect, and I'm gonna purposely shift the weight inside. As that weight shifts, what do you think happens to my center of mass? It shifts with it, right? My body wants to move as that weight pulls me in that direction. I don't let it because I'm staying engaged in my center and using all those wonderful balance muscles to stay stable. So that's why doing these little shift challenges is a great advanced way to challenge stability, to challenge balance. And I could always do it on the strong board here too, right? Or a Bosu or whatever. Don't necessarily need a strong board balance trainer. You can use whatever else you'd like to really up that stability challenge, which is what this whole segment is about. But I'm using that weight to shift, to pull me off center, and it's another great way to challenge stability and the reactive component of balance training. So those are your stability training variations, you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.